The elements that inspired me to direct Secret Invasion are really in Kyle Bradstreet's script. In the very first few pages, you discover themes of mistrust and paranoia and suspicion. And the main character of this episode, the catalyst that carries us into the story, a very complex story with many characters, is really simply Nick Fury, a man, not a superhero, a man without superpowers like flying or punching with big strong arms, but human superpowers like persuasion and empathy. And I love a human-scaled story that explores universal themes rather than a story that's too big that then tries to touch the heart. So I think that this story had all the elements that excite me as a storyteller, and I do feel that Marvel is the pinnacle of storytelling in Hollywood today, and to be able to enter that world, be invited into that world, and work not only with their resources but with their drive to tell story and clarify story and make it the best it can be, it was an exciting proposition.
What is the overall tone of the series?
This series, the tone of this series is much darker and grittier and more grounded than a typical Marvel show or movie. And I think part of that is the main character, a Nick Fury who has aged, gained wisdom, gained experience, but also he's broken a little bit, lost his step, feels like he needs to regain it. In order to do that, he needs to confront issues in his personal life, and part of that is to go inside and confront issues and challenges and questions in his internal life. And when you combine all of those things together, I really go to film noir. They feel like elements of film noir, and I think that, more than anything, created the tone of this show.
What was your vision for the style of the series?
The vision for the style of the series really came out of the answer to the preceding question, which is the creative team and I landed on film noir, and we immediately went to the greatest film noir of all time, The Third Man, and that led us to films from the 70s like The Conversation and Alan Pakula's Paranoia trilogy of Clute and The Parallax View and All the President's Men, which is then a short leap to things like The French Connection. And we put all those into a soup and tried to create a style, a feeling, and a look that suggested grayscale or a fogginess rather than a clear binary good and evil. This was anything could be anything. Anything could be around the next corner. So the style is really about obfuscation and mystery and not presenting but peeling back an onion, and to the best of our ability between locations and sets that needed to feel real in London and Russia and Washington, D.C. and even Oxford, England. We needed it to feel real, but we also needed it to feel shooting through things and mirrors and making things seem like not as they are.
Tell us about the tagline, "Who do you trust?" and why is it a major theme in the series?
The tagline, "Who do you trust?" is a major theme largely, again, because the story is about mistrust and paranoia and suspicion. And the metaphor for that is Skrulls who can shapeshift. So whoever you're talking to could be anybody, could be a Skrull, could be not who you think it is. And it's a little bit like an unreliable narrator, except I do believe that Nick Fury is always a reliable and steady narrator, even if he's a little on his back foot. And I think that his best friend Talos is always a reliable narrator. And so we can trust that they will take us into a story where they can't trust anything. And I think that creates a really fun ride for audiences.
The series gives us a look at Nick Fury's personal life. Is it fair to say that in some ways this is his story?
Well, I think he is the catalyst that brings us into a far more complex story with many, many characters, each of whom has an interesting arc and an interesting personal life and an interesting emotional truth. And this cast has done an excellent job of mining, exploring, and discovering all of those things. But ultimately, yes, this is a Nick Fury that we've never seen before, an evolution of Nick Fury that we've never seen before. He's aged, he's a little bit broken, and he needs to solve some things in his personal life that will help him accomplish the task that is set before him in this series. And in order to do that fully, I think we do end up feeling that this really is Nick Fury's arc from start to finish.
3 more. Tell us about working with the cast and what they bring to the series.
It's an amazing cast in this series. I loved working with them. It was, on some levels, an honor to work with this cast. It was a thrill. It was exciting. I'm a fanboy of everybody in the cast. And at the same time, I feel that celebrity has nothing to do with performance, storytelling, and character. I feel like my job is the same every day, no matter what I'm filming, what show I'm working on. I show up prepared. I show up understanding story. I show up understanding the character's purpose in that story. And I create an environment where actors can do their best work achieving those things. That said, when you work with this level of consummate professional, this level of experience, your job gets a little easier because they come so prepared and so understanding of the whole series and how they fit into it, that my job is really to give them a one-word note from time to time. And that was fun because I really was watching the show while I was making it.
Why was building practical sets important to you, and what did they add to the production value?
Building practical sets and using locations, for me, add a truth to this series and to every scene, in that I think part of the job of the screenwriter and the cinematographer and the production designer and the actors and me is to create within this two-dimensional world that is filmed entertainment, to create the real feeling of a three-dimensional world. And I think that blue screen environments, CGI environments are incredible and have accomplished a lot, but ultimately you're shooting two human beings in a blue room, which there's always something missing for them. They're not connecting as deep to the emotional level as they could because they're not in a real environment. So I think creating real environments helps performance, helps emotional truth, helps everything that audiences, that really resonates with audiences who watch this show.
And lastly, what do you hope viewers will experience when they watch Secret Invasion?
I hope that viewers will experience thrills and chills and satisfaction. I hope that there are elements of the show that they can take with them from their heart that will move to their head and make them think about the world we live in a different way, make them think about the themes of mistrust and paranoia and suspicion, and maybe change the world we live in today for the better.